Does your chicken run turn to mud as soon as it starts to rain? Well, I've discovered a budget-friendly way to keep my chickens high and dry this winter. Hi, I'm Leslie and this is my chicken run. After 2 weeks of heavy rain, it only cost me $20. Here's how it looked before I started. In this video, I'm going to share with you some of the materials that I've used. One really worked effectively, and one big rookie mistake I made I'll show you later. And pitfalls to avoid if you want to keep you and your chickens safe and healthy. If you're a chicken keeper and you know how important it is to keep those chickens out of the mud. So muddy floors, they create health issues, breeding ground for bacteria and unpleasant odours. So by using some temporary fencing, I can give the girls their very own green room, and it gets them out onto some grass and it gets some sunshine on their backs, and it also helps my garden and grass because they get in and they'll eat all the pests. So we've got 2 new chickens, 2 Isa Browns, and they're laying every day. So every day we get 2 eggs, and they've settled in really well. That could be another video. It took me a little while to assimilate the Isa Browns with the Silkies. Now, in these uncertain times, we really wanted to be able to have some eggs every day, and our Silkies, affectionately known as the fluffy freeloaders, because they're on their no egg laying winter break, and so we're not getting any eggs from them. I just came out to set up this next shot, and it looks like it's Flight School 101 for the bees. Just so nice to listen to them. Even though we've kept chickens on and off over the years, I'm not ashamed to admit I'm still learning. And one of my best research tools is YouTube. And I went to check out a few of my favourites, and I'm going to link them below in the description because they are really worthwhile having a good look at. The first one is an Australian. Alice has an incredible chicken run. In fact, she calls it Chicken City, and I'm trying to replicate some of the aspects of it on a much smaller scale, such as dividing up the chicken run, because sometimes the Silkies need a little break from the 2 Isa Browns. I'm trying to create a little food forest in the old garden that I've incorporated into that run extension. I want to give them a little dust bath area. And also there's a little area we drop leaves and hay in for the chicks to enjoy a good scratch around. I've given them a few roosting bars as well, just for some variation. Another great find on YouTube is Cheryl in New Zealand. She's got some great healthy ideas for small backyard chicken runs. She's moved from an acreage into a suburban block, and she's translated her best practices into a much smaller yard. And also Edible Acres from United States gave me the final best practice tip that I put into my chicken yard, and it has really helped. One of the things that I've successfully used in the chicken run has been hay, sugarcane mulch. It's worth about, it might be 12, 16, sometimes it's $18 a bale. I don't have any small farms around this area that I can purchase a bale of hay from. Actually, if I purchased a bale of hay, it would be one of those big rolls, and it would be bigger than my car. It's just a little bit too much for me to handle. So I source out what I can at Bunnings or Elders or Norco, which is close by. Now, the chickens love the hay and they scratch through it, and I love the composting that they make for me. Trouble is, it breaks down very quickly, and if it's raining, it breaks down in a week. So I have to get into that chicken run, rake it all out. Sometimes it takes me 3, 4, maybe 5 of those big black buckets full of chicken litter, I call it, to get out and get into the compost. So that's a lot of work. And it's not as successful to keep the chicken run dry. Another great composting for the chicken run is, leaves. And it's free because, we've got leaves everywhere and the chickens love turning it over. They love finding the grubs and the beetles and the thingies that cling to the leaves when we drop it into their run. It's really great. However, within a week of heavy rain and chicken turning over, it's dust, literally dust. So it's not going to keep the chicken run dry. It entertains them for a few days, but it won't keep the run dry. Another thing we often take into the chicken run is grass clippings when we mow the front lawn. It's not a lawn, it's grass, it's green stuff. And chickens love going over it and finding all the bugs and all the new fresh green tips of the leaves. But it's really broken down in a day or two. So it's not going to keep the chicken run dry. So it's not something that I'm looking for to try and help them keep dry during the wet weather. I love it, but it doesn't keep them dry. Then I hit on the idea of getting some tea tree mulch, and it was about, for about a 50-litre bag, it was about $8, a bit stinky at the moment because it smells like tea tree. It's another great start for composting, collecting the broken down compost from the run and bringing it over to the compost bin. It breaks down fairly quickly. I probably have to replace it in a month. Chickens, love scratching through it, but I found really the best place to keep it is under the chicken coop to keep it dry in that area. And it's only a little area for me to lean in and drag out any of this used tea tree mulch that's almost composting, so I can take it to the compost bin. Then I found like a mulchy pine barky thingy, cheap, I'm on a budget, cheap at Bunnings, and I thought, this might be good. So it had some really good, nice big bits, but it broke down fairly quickly. So in a couple of weeks, I needed to replace it. So it's not something that's going to stand up to a whole lot of rain over a couple of weeks. Again, chickens love it. They turn it all over. They find all the bugs and the bits and pieces, and especially when it's sitting on top, the worms will come up to check out the mulch that's sitting on top, and the chickens can enjoy that as well. But it's really not going to keep my chicken run dry. And here it is. Good, hard, strong wood chip. The idea is, if it's deep enough, and I bought a couple of bags, so the wood chip level in the top run is about that thick. So the chickens aren't going to be able to break it down quickly. With the way that the North Wall Garden wood chip path has taken about 2 years to break down, I don't see the need for me to get in there and do all that heavy, hard lifting, dragging it all out for probably at least a year. And then I think I could use it. It probably won't be broken down enough, and I think I could use it in the old garden part that I've included in their run. So I'm going to be able to reuse it. It's going to save my back, my effort every week, every fortnight, or every month. It'll be a once a year job, and I've tried it for a week and the chickens have actually been loving it. That was one tip that the Edible Acres gave. The other tip was to put some seeds or sprout seeds in underneath the wood chips before you put them in, and it worked. The sprouts, the mung bean sprouts, are coming up through the wood chip, and they're getting a little dose of leaves through the wood chip occasionally. Win-win. Now I've created a simple comparison table to break down the costs and how effective the materials were that I chose to be used in the chicken run over a year. So let's have a look. Now these are just general costs from local produce stores or Bunnings. The costs vary a little and would be cheaper if we had our own trailer so we could purchase smaller quantities. And I know it doesn't rain all year, but the coop clean up is dependent on how fast the material breaks down. Now if I used a half a bale of hay in the run, I know the chickens love to scratch it around, but it seems to break down really quickly over a week, and gosh, days if it is a rainy week. It's really a big clean-up job every 7 to 10 days, and it could well cost me over $400 to keep the hay up to the run over the year. Now comparing the left column to the right column, it's going to be a much cheaper option for me to use wood chips over the year. Anyway, I thought it would be a good way for me to track what my pension dollars are doing over a period of 12 months. If any of these ideas that I've been sharing in the video really resonate with you, give it a thumbs up and subscribe and share the video with someone else, please. So I'm going to share a few pitfalls that might help you fine-tune your chicken run. Certainly helped with me. The first one is dumping material on wet ground, and that is only asking for trouble. It creates a really mucky, smelly mix. Try and let the ground dry out as much as possible, which is not going to be possible if it's raining, I know, so be prepared. Another pitfall that I found, if I've left any mud and droppings in the run and it's ended up getting rainy, then it's a perfect breeding ground for parasites and bacteria. The chickens walking through a really unsanitary flooring material is only going to attract disease, and one particular disease that thankfully we haven't had here and I want to avoid is a bumblefoot disease. So this is the little food drop area just inside the gate, and then there's a little kind of a higher area where they like to nest, and then all the wood chip. Oh, hi girls. How are you? Okay, you're looking a bit wet and bedraggled. Are you okay? Okay, all right. So just testing it out here. So you can actually hear how wet it is. I'm going to walk over here, and it's so lovely and dry. Another pitfall, and I fell right into it. Did you pick up on it? Another pitfall is avoid using decorative wood chips. I did. I was looking for a really good budget answer, and I've chosen some decorative wood chips, and apparently they tend to be made from like more softer wood, and they break down and they create a mold which could give respiratory issues for chickens. So I'll have to keep an eye on that. So what do you put in your chicken run to keep it dry? Put it in the comments, because I'm still learning and I want to be able to find out really best practices from people who have kept chickens a little bit longer than I have. Another pitfall that we can all fall into is really biting off more than we can chew. Now 10 or 20 years ago we were able to order bulk wood chips and mulch from our local landscaper, and it might have only taken us a few days to move it all. Well, 10 or 20 years later, we are now in our mid-70s, and it's just too big a job. And even though that's much more economical way to purchase your materials, we would still have to hire someone to come and move it all. So I found it's much easier to go and get just what I need, bring it home in the car, dump it into the wheelbarrow, and then I can distribute it slowly. Also, I found that if I've left the layers in the run and they're built up, I mean, it's great compost for the garden, don't get me wrong, but sometimes it just nearly breaks my back to get all of that out into the wheelbarrow and the big black drums and distribute it into the compost and the garden. So if I have to do that every 2 weeks, that's a really big effort. So I need to find something that will prolong that depth of mulch or wood chip in the run, so then I can just rake it out maybe once a year. Also, another pitfall that we fall into because we think we're infallible and is just going to get a job done quickly. When you're cleaning out the coop, when you're moving the chicken material, wear a mask, wear gloves. When you're handling chicken litter, I call it, and cleaning out the coop, because you don't want to develop respiratory issues. So please, when you're taking care of your chickens, remember to take care of yourself. Happy gardening, everyone.